Good morning, remote learners.
Good morning, Mariana.
Welcome back to another day of Read Aloud with Accountable Talk. We're going to finish off the week by talking about making connections with text to self. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second. We are going to start by reviewing our book and what we have learned this week. Our story this week was Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. So I hope you were able to listen to this story several times like we did here in school. I want to talk to you about the story elements, okay? The story elements. We have several story elements. The first story element that we talked about and we learned was characters. And we say that characters are the people or animals in a story. That is the first element that we talked about. Can somebody raise their hand and tell me who the main character in this story was?
I know.
Who was the main character?
Alexander.
Alexander was the main character in the story. That's correct. Alexander was the main. Okay, so we said that Alexander was the main character in the story. The next element that we talked about was the setting. The setting is when and or where the story takes place. Can somebody tell me what the setting of this story was for this story that we read? Kale, what was a setting for this story that we read? Yes, it was their house. That's where the story began. Did they stay at their house? No, they went somewhere after that. Zoe, where did they go after that? They went to school. So the next setting was when they went to school. Was that the only setting? No. Paisley, what was another setting? They went to the dentist's office. They went to the dentist's office. Seaver, was there another setting?
They went to his dad's shop.
They went to his dad's office. They went to his dad's work. There's one more place. Do you remember, Melanie? Where did they go? Where did they go? They went somewhere to buy something. Do you remember where they went? Dylan, where did they go? They went to the shoe store. They went to the shoe store to buy some shoes. Very good. So far, we have reviewed characters and setting. Okay? We are going to move to the next two. The next two we talked about yesterday. We said that one, the next element was problem. The problem of the story is when something happens in the story. Something could go wrong in the story. That's the problem. But when you have a problem, we have to have a solution. The solution is how the problem is solved. How the problem in the story is solved. Another way to say it is, how can we fix that problem? Okay? How can we fix that problem? So, well, in the beginning of the story, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, Alexander went to sleep with gum in his mouth. And he woke up with gum in his Paisley. What else? But he woke up with gum in his hair. In his hair. Paisley also shared with us that he was singing too loud. So how could we fix that? Aaliyah, how could we fix that? Lowering your voice. Very good. All right, so those are the next two. The last one we want to discuss today, and I'm going to come back to, I talked about it in the beginning, is making connections. How can I make connections? One way to make connections is to make the connection by text to self. Text to self. The text is the story. Okay, so the text is the story, and of course, self is me. So right underneath it says, it reminds me of a time when. So when you read the story and you listen to it one more time, remote learners, I want you to try to make a connection from text to self. Is there a part of this story that reminds you of something about yourself? Okay? So I want you to make that connection. I want to thank you for joining us again for Read Aloud with Accountable Talk. We will see you next week. Have a great weekend, remote friends.